Hello dogs, Lildawg right here right now. Welcome back to Magical Eyes Reddis for Anguish. I think we're finally getting close to the end of Chapter 1. Or maybe this will be the end of the game, I don't know. Maybe each game is going to be a different chapter. He says in the letter that he cannot run from the doll this time. I feel like it shows everything. Now we can see his true objective. He's using himself as bait for the doll. I hate to say this, but why would he have to go that far? I can't convince myself that everything that happened is his fault. For one thing, you could say it was an accident. For another, you could say he is one of those suffering in the doll's nightmare. None of those victims would forgive what he has done. But as far as outsiders like us can tell, it doesn't seem to have been in malice. At least Tamura didn't take it that way. I guess he's the type who can't overlook that sort of stuff even if people see it as trivial. We're no different. We all risk our lives for something that others would never understand. We're no different, huh? Yes? I think we found Tamura. We'll be right over. We're starting off our search while keeping an eye out for the doll. You two should get here as soon as possible. Understood. I don't care anymore what he's done or why he's doing this. What? High schooler, if you lost all your powers, would you still stand against the variants? If I lost all my powers, I'd probably... I hope I would, but I can't say for sure. I know, right? Variants are hella scary. They are. You don't want to die, right? I don't want to die. An ordinary man made it through 5 years. I remind myself of the meeting with Tamura. His build looked like an athlete's, and he moved like a trained fighter. That's what he's acquired from his 5 years of obsession. You know what, high schooler? Yes. Let's protect him. Yes. Are we about to fight the freaking doll, finally? Suzunari chooses who to protect. His highest priority will be his dearest partner. Although they collectively call themselves the Disobeyers, every member has a unique reason for fighting variants. For some, it's simply a job, others take pleasure from fighting, and some fight to protect something even if they have to risk their lives in the process. However, Suzunari doesn't have any of those kinds of thoughts. He protects someone he doesn't feel like protecting only when his partner, the woman with whom he's decided to share his fate, decides that they should be protected. Suzunari and his partner are Disobeyers' last resort in the city. They always have fights with opponents that can snuff out their lives in an instant. Therefore, in order to rid himself of hesitation and errors of judgment, he follows his priority list of people to protect. He knows it's self-centered, but he also knows he's not perfect and cannot risk losing his invaluable partner. If he lost her, he'd lose his entire world. The same holds for Tamura. If he were the baleful string puller of this whole case, whose mind has been skewed by greed, or if he were a friend of justice fighting against the doll from the shadows, Suzunari wouldn't care about him at all because he wouldn't be able to find any meaning in helping him. He would just convince himself that Tamura's the one to blame for everything, or he's determined to lay down his life for justice. But it's turned out that none of that is true. That expressionless guy has been through hell. He has been wallowing in suffering and regret, struggling not to run from it, knowing that there's no chance for him to beat the monster. The fact has made up Suzunari's mind. Suzunari chooses who to protect. And he has chosen to protect Tamura, whatever it takes. I think we're about to fight a freaking doll. Oh boy. A building that has been abandoned for 2 years since the collapse of the company that owned it. There is a redevelopment project in progress that targets to combine its vast area of land with some of its surroundings. Every night since that day has been sleepless. Since she was my sweetheart, but now she's an object of dread, which I tried to part with by any means possible. Even after I got rid of it by sacrificing someone else's life, the fear wouldn't go away. It's all that doll's fault, not mine. That thing killed them on its own. I didn't even ask for it, but however hard I try to escape, my body and mind have been too deeply corrupted by its poison. When I close my eyes in bed at night, all I can see is the smile of a man who's given me pep talk. I'm forced to recall how little complaint from me triggered the tragedy. Like a small gear bringing a large mechanism to life. Ironically, a sense of sympathy helped turn people's attention towards me. even though they didn't even look at me when I wanted them to. There's something I need to tell you. Someone from a different section at work came to me. I'd seen him before. Since he had lunch with Sojima all the time, he must have been a friend of his. Even now, I can recall every single word that he spoke, every single word to describe what Tamura meant to Sojima. He recognized me for my diligence and trustworthiness. He scolded me while protecting me from those who would judge me. He always worried about me who was clumsy and couldn't carry a conversation. He wanted to have a drink with me. That was when I learned that I did have something to be proud of, that my old wish had come true, and that I had ruined the life of the one who taught me what it was. I can tell that days like that will never come to me again. Overpowering regret makes me shudder, blinds my vision, and makes me cry out loud. The same day when I was taking a local train home in the evening twilight, my mind shook along with the train. Knew I had to do something, but I didn't know what I could possibly do. What could a good-for-nothing guy who hasn't had a single friend in his entire life do with this inhuman monster? But I gained an unexpected hint from a mother and her daughter. The mother was apologizing to the man sitting next to her daughter for some kind of trouble she'd caused him. The mother had then admonished her daughter, as she didn't seem to feel sorry for what she'd done. "You must apologize when you've done something wrong, okay?" she gently told her. The answer was simple enough. It doesn't matter how much of a monster the doll is or whether this modern world can bring me to justice. Who knows if I'll die for nothing tomorrow? I don't care how trivial my life may be to the rest of the world. Simply need to do something to earn the right to apologize to him. Watching the sunset-painted city out the window, I make my decision. No longer will I live my life. Will I live with my head down, merely enduring? It's almost time. The moment that thought enters my mind, I can feel my body begin shivering. It may be kind of excitement or a sense of dread. I'm not sure if that thing's trait or what it's learned from experience, but the doll never becomes active before nightfall. All the previous victims have gone missing at night. Since I know that particular happened, I was able to make it to the knick-knack shop before the doll succeeded at taking the manager away. I encountered the doll in daylight today, but that was an exception. Or perhaps it always moved around then. But at least it seems unable to demonstrate its full abilities as well as at night, because I was able to escape rather easily. I weigh every event of the past 5 years. The pursuit between myself and the doll. Don't remember anymore how many times I almost reached it but lost it, or how many dead ends I ran into when looking into the doll's history. I've been developing strategies against it while training myself, without knowing how helpful they will be. 5 years went by in a flash. Even though I ended up saving nobody and accomplishing nothing at all, I've built up a lot of muscle and gained the courage to act even when I'm terrified. Plus, I was able to learn of a group of people known as the Disobeyers. Confident enough to say that the doll is now closer to me than it ever been so far. Here it comes. The target seems to have become active earlier than I thought it would. Probably because of the dimness in this building. Right now, sunlight is something I can take advantage of. Who knows whether it recognizes its surrounding through vision. My hand holding the katana is growing sweaty. Am I really in the right place at the right time? This is an abandoned factory that I found when I was looking for somewhere that I couldn't lead the doll to. As far as my quick examination shows, there's no graffiti or trash that would hint at anyone recently visiting this place. And on top of that, there are few traces of any delinquents hanging around in here, or anything that might attract ruin hunters. I think I'll be able to avoid getting anyone else involved in here. Perfect battlefield for me and the doll. Should have probably looked more into the place, but there's little time left for me. The enemy is within reach. Thinking that I'd be scared even after 5 years of training. No. The encounter at the park wasn't anything like this life-threatening battle, and I thought that was why I could be composed back then. But my entire body is filled with excitement. Whatever I do, everything will be over. I can't leave any regrets. It's time to get moving. I'll strike first, that's my plan. 30 years were long enough to learn a lot about myself. I'm a slow starter and no good at making snap decisions. Knowing all that, I'm going to need to go all out from the start. My slash didn't even graze it. The doll had no trouble evading. I spent a lot of time evaluating my options before choosing this weapon. I also have a gun in my chest pocket, but I confirmed at the park that it doesn't deal any damage to the doll. The doll moves too quickly. Shooting down a fast-moving animal would require extensive training even for a skilled shooter. Therefore, I decided it was best to switch from a point to a line and just swing it down around like crazy. Ugh. After my missed swing, an impact strikes my rigid body. It came from the side and blew me away. What just hit me? A tackle? I can still move and I'm holding my weapon. Having appraised my status, I forced myself out of the room. I probably should have picked kendo. No rush, I still need to find out how the 5 years have changed me. The fight has only just begun. Woo boy! This is getting exciting. I try my hardest to recover my breath, leaning back on the wall. I don't know if the doll has any organs equivalent to human eyes or ears or eyes, but I think I'd better keep myself as silent as I can. Some kind of chemical seems to be pumping out in my brain. I know I'm rather calm inside even though I've been lashing about for a while now. Also, I keep coming up with one thought after another, none of which have anything to do with the battle I'm currently engaged in, as if I'm seeing a series of flashbacks before your death. Most of them are not related to the battle itself, but to the days I've spent investigating my opponent. 5 years ago, the day I turned in my resignation notice, I learned that Sojima had been sending money to his ailing parents in his hometown. I used to believe that his life was perfect, but he had his own problems too. Whoops. Knowing the truth hardened my resolve. I knew I needed to plan and prepare. I could no longer stand allowing that doll to remain at large, so I decided to put an end to it, even if it was just to satisfy my own ego. I would do whatever I could to make it happen. 3 years later, I learned about an organization called the Disobeyers, which was the most helpful thing that happened to me. And I spent another 2 years making contact with one of them, Suzunari. With the knowledge of their existence, I'm now at peace. Even if I fail, they'll definitely destroy the doll. All I need to do is give it my best shot. Now that I'm facing the doll, I can tell for certain that the worst thing about that weapon is its reach. Based on my years of experience in various martial arts, I can't think of anything that will work against such a weapon. Yet I wouldn't say I have zero hope. There's one thing that I realized back when the doll assaulted a knick-knack shop manager. However inhuman it may be, it still exists in the same world as I do. Even though its strength and speed are beyond incredible, you can treat it as some kind of wild animal. I still don't know what mechanism keeps it going, but at least it doesn't seem to have any fantastical powers like burning its surroundings or making your heart stop through eye contact. I can reliably evade its attacks, if barely. At first I almost picked up some sort of blunt weapon for ease of use, but changed my mind because I had no idea if the opponent could feel any pain. Instead I chose katana, which I got my hands on via illegal means. Even if it doesn't bleed, cutting parts should still do the trick. Except I can't hit it. I'm backing off step by step, making feints. The doll's attack sends bits of concrete and some of them strike me. It won't kill me, but little hits like that will wear me down if I don't do something. I dodge by a hair, to be more accurate by my jacket. Feeling a rush of heat on my right arm, I shoot a quick glance at it and find my skin is still unbroken. One thing for sure, though, is I'm still going to end up cornered if I remain in this room. Luckily for me, the next room has a blind spot by its entrance. I know I'm not going to last too long. I'm slowing down every passing moment while my enemy never tires. It's just a matter of time before my legs stop moving. It's now or never. I've got to go all out. Waiting on my enemy's arrival, I hold my breath as the quieting sound of metal echoes through the entire building. The time has come. Within seconds, I focus all my attention on it. Stress and excitement almost make me shout out, but struggle not to. I've waited 5 years for this. I can wait a few seconds more. I can't wait. I can't and won't forgive the doll. I'm going to put all that emotion into a single slash. One more breath, and the doll arrives at the perfect position for my attack. It's time to gather all my strength in my arms. Ah! It didn't hit. It didn't even leave a scratch. I failed. 5 years of regret and penance for nothing, just like my life before, where I couldn't find any meaning in living? No, that can't be true. I hope not. I hope I've done something worthwhile, even if only a little. My legs are terribly worn out, trembling. I doubt I could make it out of here alive even if I tried. This is the end of my life. At least, because of the walking around I did with these legs, I was able to draw the disobeyers' attention. Not sure how good they are, but if the rumors are anything to go by, they'll take care of the doll. Yeah, I did great. In order to make up for the stupid thing I've done, I've given up everything to face that invincible monster. This time, I didn't run away. That's why there's nothing I'm going to miss. There's nothing that I'm going to miss. Yeah, there's nothing. No. I'm not dying here. Strength returns to my body with such force that it feels like my blood's about to boil. As the doll swings its weapon like a reaper's scythe, I move towards it and roll under the attack. I hope I'm not going to get in trouble for this song. Evading my attacker, I take off running without even looking back. I must retreat for now. I'd better avoid going straight or I'll get caught soon. While running, I recall one thing after another that happened for the last 5 years. Striking a blow at the doll has been my reason to live. At first, it might have been only for the sake of atonement. I do have regret, sorrow, and longing for the way I lived my life before that, but there's this flame surpassing any of those emotions has helped the stupid weak man overcome any hardships and keep himself going. To put a name on it, it's wrath. While investigating, I visited various kinds of places and met plenty of people. They were all left behind by the missing people. As far as I found out, the doll claimed nearly a 3-digit number of victims. Those who owned the doll and used its power just like me and the shop manager. They just asked for it. But why would the rest of them have to disappear? One of them was the father of a little child. One of them was a woman whose wedding was to be held in 6 months. Each and every one of those I met was in deep sorrow, mourning for their loss. A girl crying out for her father, a young man waiting for his beloved to return to him safely. Tried to tell them the truth countless times. How could I possibly do that? If they had taken my words as a joke, I would have it would have just worsened their feelings. If they had believed me, they might have challenged the doll and been drawn into this nightmare. They can't even learn why those important to them had vanished. They can't ever know. All they can do is shed tears until their eyes turn red and scream until their throats go hoarse. How cruel is it that there's no way for them to know why they had to experience those losses? Not only hundreds of human lives, but dolls even ruined all the precious moments that were supposed to be spent together by them and their families. What's right, what's wrong, how terrible is my guilt? I might not be able to figure them out even after years pass. There's one thing I can tell for sure. The doll's unfairness must not be forgiven. And that is why I've decided to tackle it with my own life. Each time I listen to someone's story, I shed a tear and clenched my hand into a fist with anger. Must stand in for them all and face the doll. I hurriedly rolled down the stairs while little shards of rubble stab into my back. How powerful I am to be unable to even run away. I'm really feeling annoyed by the fact that I haven't even succeeded at landing at one blow at the doll, using everything I've acquired these last 5 years. Apparently I'm still as awkward. Now I've completely lost my desire to put an end to the doll with my own hands. I'm not even hoping for it. So what? Even if I'm facing the undefeatable, I must make it understand what it deserves. Not yet, I've got to press on. Another swing of the scythe, death passes right above my head. Even a glancing blow from it would end me. I don't care if death is my punishment. I'd be happy to accept it. I don't mind sacrificing the rest of my life if it helps me strike a blow against the monster before me. No matter how small, I really want to do something for those who were left behind. These 5 years of mine are all about delivering their grief and anger to the doll. Now! Bracing myself, I receive the doll's finely timed attack. My left arm feels broken, and probably some ribs too. Who cares? I'm standing here prepared to lose much more. Talk about risking your life. My whole body is infused with fury over the doll and its unfairness. Now it's not time to fight back. My position is perfect. The process of swinging down my katana is something that runs through my mind. What if I'd never run into the doll? I see Sojima nagging me for my mistakes. I see myself working at the boring and obnoxious workplace, feeling irritated by the slacking of my lazy boss. Fascinating images like those go through my head. Ah! The monster even evades my best strike by far. There's an unpassable wall standing between me and that thing. The word death crosses my mind as the doll mechanically raises its lethal weapon. Instead of preparing myself to dodge it, I try to strike again. If my life doesn't suffice to attack it, then I'll just offer something more. Considering the rest of my stamina and distance between the doll and me, if I had one more step forward, there won't be any room to evade the doll's incoming slash. Even so, just one hit is enough. That's all I desire, even if it won't deal fatal damage, even if it needs that my life ends here. Soon as the doll takes my strike, I am drawn into despair. Feels like I'm hitting a wall. I can sense that my attack didn't deal any damage at all. I'm still so far away. The finishing attack is so fast that it's only barely recognizable. I'm not afraid to die. My only regret is that I couldn't even manage to deliver a decent strike to the doll. How weak. Death is right at hand. My life will soon come to an end here in this abandoned building covered by the sunset's glow. Or so I thought. A human body seems to make surprisingly blunt sound when chopped apart. To my surprise, I didn't feel any pain. No, this isn't right at all. I liked your shout. You're way more human than I imagined. It's not my skin or eyes, but my ears that first sensed a change in the situation. They caught an animated, intelligent voice they'd heard just a couple days ago. The doll's 100 years, and you're 5 years. I tell you, you can claim victory. The crimson hair waving in the twilight resembles the dawn that drives away the night. I can't believe what I'm seeing. This is beyond surprise. It's blood-curdling. The murder weapon that has produced an enormous number of victims has been stopped in its track by the left arm of a long-haired young man. Don't worry, this will be over in a flash. Even though the muscleless doll is trying to cut into his arm, its body audibly creaking at the effort, the man remains unmoving. How is that possible when the weapon's even capable of wrecking concrete walls and floors? I know full well how destructive it is because I was facing it until a minute ago. My brain hasn't yet caught up with what's going on right in front of me. Boy, this doll's actually pretty good. The man snorts with laughter at a doll that no one could ever escape, treating it like a trivial thing. He may look human, but perhaps he's something completely different. A dark and oppressive aura has surrounded me until now, but a single word from him blows that away. Seemingly having realized I can't simply power through this obstacle, the doll steps back and delivers another strike with the momentum created by dashing and half-turning. Looks like it has some intelligence too. The tall man doesn't even tremble in the slightest. Now that I'm calm enough to understand what's happening, I can tell he has no intention of dodging any of the doll's attacks. A loud, dull sound fills the room again. I finally figure out what it is. It's the sound of the doll's weapon crashing into Susanari's body. I can recognize that fact, but I can't understand it. How could anyone not budge an inch when struck by a blow that could easily demolish shelves and pillars? If he's equipped with some kind of blade-proof vest under his jacket, it doesn't make any sense that he can stay put after the doll's attacks. Starting to suspect that this man is ignoring some kind of law of this world. Much more than even the walking doll. What's happening? The doll's next move is flash from one side to another. It's not aimed at the obstacle, but the original target. Not happening. I squeeze my eyes shut and a shaking reaches me. I can tell it wasn't by the doll because it was coming from the ground. I thought you'd made it past me, better think again. I open my eyes less than a second later, see through the thick dust in the air, several huge lumps of concrete, and the doll collapse on the ground. The doll's slash must have grazed him, as some of his beautiful crimson hair is mixed in with the dust. But what just happened? The doll lying on the ground and quaked from the load, just what happened while my eyes were closed. Long story short, you've risked enough to get us going. What do you mean, get you going? The young man turns to look at me, showing an amused smile instead of answering my question. I wish he'd take this more seriously. Without paying attention to the madness behind him, Ren has relaxed his body as if the battle was over. Watch out! I deliver a kick to the back of the doll's unguarded head. Ren, why no offense? That's your job this time, high schooler. Plus, I'd feel sorry for the doll if I took it down. Can't believe it. He's even showing mercy on the doll. To the doll. The doll is getting back on its feet, creaking. Just so you know, I'm not going to be as soft as you and Nanashi. Tell me about it. All the more reason it's got to be you. Standing up, the doll dashes out of the room. You too, what are you... Haha, you're asking that now? Isn't that why you came to us? Are you alright? Tamura doesn't look to be badly hurt, but he may have internal injuries or a concussion. Yes, I'm alright. At least he's alive. I should be glad about that for now. Well, that's what Ren decided on. There's no way it could have turned out otherwise. I don't think the doll will come back, but I'll stay here with him. Understood, I'm going after it. I'm pretty sure you're aware. But you were right about it. I knew it. Be careful. I may have a hard time then. Even if the doll gets away, we know where it'll end up, though. We settle this today. Right. Tamura wordlessly watches the young man run off as fast as the doll. Everything seems as surreal to him as looking at slipshod CGs. What? Fake Sojima, I mean, Mr. Tamura, you're amazing. Suzunari calls out to the stunned man. I didn't do anything. Tamura is acutely aware of how powerless he was against the doll, but Suzunari shakes his head in denial. Without you, the doll would still be operating in secret. You stopped the doll. I couldn't even scratch it. Actually, you touching that thing gave me a better understanding of how crazy it is. The surroundings tell me what happened between you and the doll. You're obviously beyond ordinary. Suzunari seems to mean it, not sounding sarcastic at all. A feeling resembling awe is now awakening in Tamura toward him, considering he deals with monsters like that on a regular basis. You should be proud of what you've achieved. How can I do that? There's no way he can do that. Memories of the last 5 years float through his head. I tried to apologize to their friends and family. Speaking from experience, I can't recommend that. I tried to report to the police. They could have arrested you for abduction. I almost caught the doll a bunch of times. You would have died much sooner if you had. If I'd done something different, I could have saved someone. That's what Tamura's been telling himself every night for the past 5 years. His name says we disobey. Tamura is puzzled by the sudden change of subject. Disobey what? Common sense, the truths of this world? You know what I mean, right? You saw what I did earlier. Yes, I think so. We're all crazy like that, but the thing is, there has never been someone who can rewrite history, not even once. Whatever you do, you can't go back in time. Not even if you're capable of defeating that doll with a single blow. You're saying we all have to face forward? No, we're going to have to suffer forever. Tamura is astonished that Suzunari is strong enough to declare that. He thinks this man may be able to answer the question he's been burdened with for years, but the moment he tries to open his mouth to speak, the sound of a distant clash rings out. Sounds like they've gotten started. What was that? High schooler caught up with the doll. Will he be okay? Suzanara looked so composed that Tamura almost thought everything had been settled. If I were you, I wouldn't get any closer to them. His powers are a toxin that works on anyone, whether they be human or variant. A toxin? No need to worry, he'll definitely win. This isn't a wish, it's a certainty. That doll did too much, no chance for it to beat high schooler anymore. He's completely correct. After all, Suzanari's powers come from desire to protect others. Amokawa Yu's comes from... Here we go! The moment we've all been waiting for. I'm going to keep going. After a couple minutes chase, I spot the doll waiting for me. Must have tried to find a way out, but now it seems to have realized it's trapped in the cage I set. Actually facing the doll like this, I'm impressed how magnificent it looks as a piece of art. But once I slide my glance down to the awkward metal plate in its hand, all its charm is rapidly lost. How many lives were taken by that thing? Even thinking about it disgusts me. I really need to take stock of my emotions now. A disobeyor's powers are activated through a particular emotion. Rin, for instance, requires the will to protect someone. As for me, I wonder what regrets they might have had. Hundreds of people, afraid and alone, brutally dismembered. They were all killed without knowing where they were in an unfamiliar darkness. They must have asked, why me? They must have screamed in pain and anguish. Wonder what regret they must have felt at their last moments. How many people's futures have been stolen? The tomorrow they'd taken for granted never came. Thinking about that produces intense impulse within me that almost fries my reasons. There's no need to restrain myself anymore. This is the best method possible to put an end to this nightmare. I shuffle to the side, staring at the doll. The doll turns its head following my movement. It may have some kind of sense of vision, or perhaps it merely pretends to have one. Whatever the case, I'm going to let it launch the first attack. That'd be ideal since parrying it is my specialty. A baleful aura emerges out of the doll, spreading throughout the room. It's nearly identical to that of a beast or a human variant. Once the auras filled the entire room, the battle commences. The doll draws close without making any sound, holding its weapon over its head. Contrary to its adorable appearance, it seems to be quite aggressive. But by returning a 1-2 punch, I teach it a lesson that such wide swings never work against me. The doll slides back and charges towards me again. I slap away the rubble sent flying by our clash. Hot dang! After exchanging several blows, we draw away from each other. The doll, despite its small build, depends on feats of strength, while I deal with its attacks with speed. Its indefatigability makes it possible for it to keep moving seamlessly. I lose sight of the opponent for a moment because of its curved approach. I sidestep a blow aimed at my head. I then seize its head and smash it to the ground. Ooh! The doll's body rebounds from the ground. I try to follow it up with a kick, but the doll evades by jumping back as if riding the blast wave of an explosion. Its true character is starting to come to light. It runs and jumps without using its lower body. I hate to say this when it's earnestly pretending to be human, but nothing human can be found in those movements. The doll appears to be more alert now. We both wait and see who will make the next move. The one who breaks the hold is... That is the doll's fourth opening gambit. I evade the storm of murderous attempt. Evaded, and then evaded. I guess it's about time to gear myself up for a little bit. I cross counter the dolls along the doll's arm. This technique is meant for using leverage to break the arm. So you drop your weapon now. That freaks me out. As far as my analysis go, the doll doesn't seem to sense pain. In spite of that, it gave up its weapon in order to minimize the damage it took. It does have a survival instinct, which means it knows that sometimes it has to back off to accomplish its goals. No, not a surprise though, that's got to be how it escaped notice for so long. I can hear sounds around me and sense a subtle quake. Looks like you're about to show me all you've got. In the next moment, several gigantic building materials start floating in the air and fly at me. I take evasive action. Lumps of metal and concrete try to strike me down one after another, so you can handle stuff that heavy too. I'm convinced that my guess was right after seeing the throws performed by the doll's invisible hands. This is the power the doll had acquired to pretend to be human. It allows it to take on traits of those who created it. It makes it possible to move itself and handles tools like we humans do. And the doll has been wielding that power to swing around its deadly weapon, unlock the windows and doors, and skewer the people on a hook. Psychokinesis. I know there must be a better way to describe it, but it's like an invisible hand. And that's probably... I can see 1, 2, 3 pieces of material floating in the air. This is the first attack of my own in this battle. I draw close to the doll without any hesitation. As soon as the doll recognizes my approach, one of the lumps falls to the ground. I was expecting the power could handle multiple objects at a time, but it turns out it's only up to 3. My guess was 4, but given how forceful the power appears, the number makes sense to me. 1 for its own body and 2 for tools in both hands. Debris flies from the sides and I evade them instinctively. Right after the doll charges towards me. I roll on the ground to reduce my momentum. Apparently the tackle blew me a few meters away. Without studying my surroundings, I roll on toward the left, dodging the doll's next slash. Good, I've got no bruises or slashes. Right before receiving the doll's tackle, I felt a weight on my body. That has to be its power. That explains why it didn't use it against me till now. The power apparently isn't as effective on living as on the non-living. At least, not on human beings. Now I know everything it's capable of. Its power may be extremely dangerous to ordinary people, but I'm not ordinary. The doll has to be upset about this furious combat between us. Has to be upset that this material continues to resist, unlike all the others that stopped moving after a little use of its powers. I can see the doll growing wary. It's not acting as forcefully as the beginning anymore, but I better stay alert. It's still radiating just as much bloodlust. It begins circling me. I notice it's holding its special tool in its hand. The circling speeds up so much, everything before me feels like a joke. I'm surprised by how fast it is. The incredible velocity creates a sound and provides it more strength. The doll must mean to finish me. I don't think so. The speed is amazing, I admit, but the faster it tries to get, the more straightforward its rhythm becomes. Yeah, it's actually pretty easy to deal with the steady speed. Even if the doll accelerates itself to the degree that my eyes can't follow, I can smash it. All I need to do is time my counterattack. I begin concentrating. With a crash, the window behind me shatters and broken glass rains to the ground. The whole room is now released from the slight sense of tension. It feels like a fresh wind had blown it out. Quickly turning, I only find my own shadow on the floor. It got away. I never thought it would run at this point. That makes sense, though. I'm just an obstacle. There's no reason it has to eliminate me. So it's human in this regard, too. Relaxing out of my battle mode, I quickly head outside to contact the intelligence department member on standby there. And there we end it. See you next episode.